Greetings again, curious acolytes of the galaxy, and welcome back to the archives. Over the course of the Jedi Order's long history, they have always championed themselves as followers of the light side exclusively. However, we are all quite aware that despite this claim, some of the most ruthless and terrifying Sith Lords have come straight out of the Jedi Order's ranks. A Jedi falling to the dark side did happen quite a bit, and when we look at the overarching timeline of the Order's history, it appeared to be a frequent occurrence, especially during times of war. Typically, the High Council's response to this was to tighten their grip on their members and impose even more fence laws and narrow doctrine, until unfortunately, the Jedi became stagnated in their own light side dogma. Many criticize the Jedi for not doing more with their own members when it comes to their temporary turn to the dark side, and while we also held that opinion for quite some time, our archaeologists have recently uncovered a secret planet known as Splinter, a planet where the Jedi Order had established a rehabilitation center for those that had fallen to the dark side, a place that the Jedi Order called the Dawn Temple. The Dawn Temple was a secluded outpost on the peaceful Outer Rim world of Splinter. The Dawn Temple served as a way for those Jedi that were tempted by the dark side to seek redemption and peace. But these seemingly forgiving halls hide a very dark secret, one that may very well be one of the Jedi Order's most astonishing crimes. So today, my friends, sit with us as we open up yet another holocron and talk about the mysteries of the Dawn Temple. First, let's begin with the world of Splinter. The planet Splinter was located in the Spadja sector of the Outer Rim, a system that was very rarely traveled, and for good reason. There have been the establishment of many different Jedi temples and outposts located all over the galaxy, but this one seems purposefully tucked away. And that is not by mistake. Splinter was known as a peaceful place of seclusion. It was founded by the Jedi as a spiritual retreat for those that were losing their way. Basically a vacation spot for Jedi that were feeling the squeeze of the dark side closing in on them. The isolated world was chosen so that faltering Jedi could find a tranquil environment in which to reconnect with solely the light side. Originally, it was just a small outpost, and the Jedi coming there were only there to use rooms for sleeping and eating, while they spent the majority of their time in the nature of the world. The Dawn Temple itself didn't come much later, when the mounting pressures of keeping peace in a slowly failing republic brought more and more Jedi to the brink of the outpost, as many began embracing the dark side inadvertently. Therefore, the High Council constructed a brand new site and a new facility at an unknown point in history. The Dawn Temple was planned to be more than a meditative retreat, and was decidedly made also to be a rehabilitation center for those falling towards the darkness. The Dawn Temple was named for what seemed to be an inevitable return to the light side for those who were treated at the location. But now we have sensed what you all are thinking. This place sounds like an incredibly important and useful location, so why have we not heard of it? That's one of the curious aspects, and the first red flag. Hardly any Jedi actually knew about the Dawn Temple, and while it wasn't technically kept a secret, it was definitely put on the down low. Most of only the people that knew about the Dawn Temple were high-ranking masters or members of the Jedi High Council, and those that had already been treated there, of course. Although the Dawn Temple was never widely known, it became quietly renowned among the upper ranks of the Jedi Order as a place of healing that could restore even the darkest spirits. To put it plainly, it was a place mostly known only to the elites of the Jedi Order. As a side note, in our opinion, the decision to hoard the knowledge of a place meant to help people overcome the darkness is a very un-Jedi-like thing to do. For the longest time, it was believed that all the Jedi did to deter themselves from falling to the dark side was the use of fear tactics, such as expulsion from the Jedi Order or even jail time. The Council of Reconciliation dealt harshly with those accused of dark side practices, so the knowledge that there was a meditative retreat that could rehabilitate those Jedi in need, but was kept mostly as a secret among the upper echelons of the Order, is very disturbing to say the least. It is as if to say that only a small amount of Jedi are deserving to get the help that they need, and the rest can simply be cast out, which is what we would have said, but we found out the lie hidden within the Dawn Temple itself. One of the Jedi Order's greatest mistakes. While the Dawn Temple was indeed a location for rehab of dark Jedi, but they never spoke of how they were rehabilitated. For those that were only tempted by the dark side and needed to find their way back to the light, they would get the soothing, meditative retreat experience that the place was known for. However, those who fully fell to the dark side would get a much different experience at the Dawn Temple. They would be forcefully imprisoned, put into stasis fields where they could do no harm, and they would have their minds messed with as the rehabilitation process took its effect. It isn't entirely known exactly what would happen to them there, but it was something akin to brainwashing and using machines and the Force in order to do so. On Coruscant, most of the time, Jedi who slip up are given a second chance to prove that they will not go down the dark path again. If they do though, they are stripped of rank and cast out. But if someone is admitted to the Dawn Temple, there is no getting out, in a stasis field that would remain until the treatment took full effect. There was no casting out or execution. There was simply imprisonment until they changed and turned back to the light, or were forcefully kept there forever. Essentially, an old mental institution in our own real world. A disturbing secret of the Jedi Order that they do not want to be let out, especially under Yoda's watch. The Dawn Temple would see a boom of admittance during the Clone Wars, as more and more Jedi were being admitted to the facility. What's interesting about the Dawn Temple is it was only run by 3 Jedi and 3 caretakers. They were known as the Curator, the Warden, and the Jailer. What's interesting though is they were all mostly very pleasant and simply carried on their duties without any fuss and were generally quite helpful and understanding. The Curator was a Jedi who was an elderly Sarian. He appeared in simple robes composed entirely of silvery blue light. His role was to manage the records and archives of the temple, and to oversee day-to-day management of supplies and logistics. Although he is still a powerful and knowledgeable figure, he is the least prominent of the gatekeepers that oversaw the Dawn Temple. The Warden appears as a female Zabrak formed of golden light, wearing Jedi battle armor, and has a lightsaber at her belt. Although her insubstantial form means that both the armor and the weapon are purely symbols of her role. She was made to oversee the defense of the Dawn Temple against the threats of outside forces, or even from within. The Warden is more concerned about maintaining the security of the Dawn Temple and its inhabitants than the deeper mysteries of the Force. She is grounded and practical, but still knowledgeable with her duties. The Warden knows the secrets of lightsaber construction, maintains training routines for a number of combat forms for the inhabitants, and can grant access to outer defenses of the temple to appropriate personnel. Despite her lack of personalized knowledge, the Warden has perhaps the strongest personality of any of the Gatekeepers, and she reacts with the full fervor of an honor-bound warrior when her charges are threatened. And the third and final Gatekeeper, you have the Jailer. Despite his intimidating name, the Jailer is the most approachable of the Gatekeepers. He takes the form of a short, elderly Miraluka male composed of pure white light. The Jailer is the master intelligence of the Dawn Temple and has the most seniority of all of the Gatekeepers. He was created to oversee the care and treatment of Jedi who have lost their connection to the light side and to guide them back to the serenity of the Force. As the primary overseer of the Dawn Temple, the Jailer has full control over the temple's systems and can override any of the Gatekeepers' commands. He was programmed with the authority to judge supplicants at the temple as being worthy or unworthy. Despite his power and knowledge, or perhaps because of them, the Jailer is mild and gentle, focused primarily on redemption and rehabilitation. When someone seeks the Jailer's aid, they must prove that they are planning to use its responsibility going forward rather than seeking a quick fix. The Jailer is the most powerful and wise of all of the Gatekeepers. All in all, the Dawn Temple and its Crusaders seem to genuinely care about the rehabilitation of those who have fallen to the dark. They take their positions very seriously and are working hard to improve the life of Jedi that serve the Order. However, the fact that this is a hidden location, held only by the highest ranking members of the Jedi Order, serve as a major mistake. A place behind closed doors, there is brainwashing and schemes afoot to tarnish the sanctity and reverence that should be held at the Dawn Temple. At the conclusion of the Clone Wars, when Order 66 was called, the temple was largely abandoned. Fortunately, the Dawn Temple was never discovered by the Empire, and all the while, potentially hundreds of Jedi were left in stasis, those that had fallen. However, one day, they would eventually be found, freed, and defeated by a group of adventurers sometime in the future. The fact that the Dark Jedi had been in stasis for decades, making them very weak. This does not fix the fact, though, that they were abandoned and forgotten potentially left there for hundreds of years, much like how Dagon Locke was in Jedi Survivor, a cast-aside secret of one of the major failings of the Jedi Order. But anyway, my friends and acolytes, what do you think of the Dawn Temple, and do you find this place to be disturbing or valuable? Do you believe that the construction of the Jedi Temple was a correct thing to do, or was it wrong? As always, my friends, thank you so much for visiting our archives, and may the Force be with you, always.